Hello, Hamish Conway here from Cell Global, and this is TACOS Tuesday, where we give you the most up-to-date Amazon ads, tactics, and strategies. And with me today, we have Sebastian Hargraves, Amazon's nearly Cell Global's head of advertising. G'day, Sebastian.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good stuff. And we're mixing things up a bit this week. We have Kirsten Bryce, who is Cell Global's creative director, and we thought we would bring her on because she's been doing Amazon design for 6+ years now, and you've got the whole 10,000 hours principle, and so Kirsten has done her 10,000 hours across hundreds of different brands, and she's seen all the evolutions of Amazon as new features and come in. And so I thought, look, with ads, you can be sending traffic to poor listings or poor storefronts and you just burn cash. So if you don't have the creative side of things sorted, then you're really going to love this episode, either if you are just looking at getting started or if you're already set up and you just need to be doing some work on this, or even if you think you've got it good, I think you're going to uncover today some opportunities there for you to improve that conversion rate. So for every click that is made that goes to your product listing, you want to convert more of those. So out of every 100, Amazon, I think, averages around 10. We'll say 10, it might be 10.5 or 6 or something like that. But if you can get that from 10 to 12 to 15 or even to 20, then that automatically improves your advertising results. And also with storefronts, if you're sending traffic to storefronts, how does that help you convert? So that's really that's the game plan. Okay, we're going to look at this here today. And so Kirsten, let's start off by the question, the customer journey on Amazon. So why is the creative piece so important? So kind of talk us through from the view that you look at when you're going, right, how are we going to capture the eye and get them to convert? Like, can you just talk to
Absolutely. Yeah, nice to be here. And yeah, so Amazon, well, most people get to Amazon and they jump onto that main page and they type in, either a product that they're looking for or a general search term around the sort of thing that they're looking for. And then they get hit with a page with 40 plus product images. So on desktop, just, row of like 4 across and many down, and mobile, a very long scrolling page. So that's kind of your first part of the customer journey. Your customer might know what they're looking for. They might be looking specifically for your brand, or they might just be looking for the top selling products in that category. But what they're going to get is an overload of images. And that kind of brings us to that very, very, probably the most important part of your creative process is that main product shot. Because that's what you want to capture attention in that really noisy visual space. And, we always say having a high quality professional image makes people think of a high quality product. If you just shoot a shot on your iPhone, it's probably not going to cut it. And people, there's a lot of competitors out there doing a great job. So you have to sit there alongside them looking fantastic. So well shot images, that main product shot's always a white background shot. So it's like a catalog image, well lit, front facing. And if you've got, key information, you want it to be readable. You actually, people don't even need to read the text under the image. They should be able to figure out exactly what your product is. Say if it's, you're doing maybe a supplement or a skincare product, and retinol is a key word that people are searching for. You've got retinol in your product. Make sure they can read the word retinol on your product, because that's actually, you're capturing, you're selling before you've even got them into the listing. And that's where you get that first click. Hopefully that's the point. So you want to stop them on the page. They go, oh, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for. That looks good. Click. They're in your listing.
Great. And so it really is like standing out from the crowd. So if you're already selling on Amazon, it's going, right, put in the key search terms, category search terms, not your brand, and see why would people stop and click on your product? Is there something catching their eye?
Yeah.
Do you put a bit of the ingredient in there, or as you say, like with the supplements or even skincare, is like the packaging, you can tell a lot of the story on the packaging. So it is what they're getting, but the packaging is super clear. and to get that.
Absolutely. And you know, if you're selling something where there's maybe it's a box and you get a certain number of sachets or bottles or something within the box, show the packaging, show one of the products out of the box. So it's really clear, you know, it's really clear what you're getting so that there's no surprises. So people, if you're selling a multi-pack, make it really clear how many you get in the pack, whether it's written on the packaging or you show all of the products out, whichever way is going to be visually, you know, the most appealing. And colors really powerful. You know, if you've got awards and things, make sure those are clearly visible on the product packaging. All those selling tools that are going to get people to stop and look.
In one hit. And look, we're talking, you know, for many people just listening, we're talking about visual creative here. So there is a bit of that challenge. So I made people picturing it. So I just want to mention at this stage, just so you know, there is an incredible resource that Kirsten and some of the other Cell Global team have put together that will give you lots and lots of examples here around great design and also more in-depth training and examples. So I'll mention this at the end, but write it down now, is go to cellglobal, SELL global.com /creative training tools. It'll be in the show notes as well. But there we've got an incredible resource for free at the moment. And so there's a guide, 37 concepts, including the hero images there that we've just been talking about, and lots of other training there. So make sure you check that out. GoCellGlobal.com /creative training tools. Should have got a shorter URL for that, to be fair. Anyway, so Kirsten, so you've mentioned there the first part is getting that click, and amongst all that noise, right? And then so people click through onto a product listing. Then what do we got to be taking into account there? And you know, particularly with the image stack, to you know have people convert.
That's right. So once they get into your listing, you get your what we call your image stack, which is your main product image plus 5 to 6 other images. So your main product image is your white background catalog shot that we've spoken about. The other images that you get are where you can actually kind of bring your product to life. So they can be infographics, they can contain text, they can be colorful, they can have lifestyle images. So I guess it's about considering, you know, you put a lot of time and effort into writing copy, keywords, so that people get, you know, the right people get to your listing. However, a lot of people aren't going to read all of that text. Personally, I probably wouldn't. I'm much more visual, so I'm probably going to flick through the images. So you want people to understand the product, the benefits, those key features, those points of difference. You know, things like, has it won awards, or is it certified and, you know, for something, what's in it, what's not in it. You want to communicate all of that visually. But you don't want to obviously you don't want to go overboard. So you really need to pull out what's the essence. What do people actually want to know about your product? What's going to convince them to buy? And those are the things that you want to kind of identify and deal with in those images. Avoiding too much text, again, because, you know, you've got a lot of people browsing on mobile. You want them to be able to, you know, really quickly at a scrolling glance, understand the product. And another thing is, I mean, it's this is an e-commerce environment. People can't touch your product. They can't, you know, can't smell it. They can't feel it. They can't use it. So lifestyle images showing people actually using the product is really powerful, because by doing that, you enable, you know, your shopper to imagine themselves using the product. And if someone's looking happy using the product, they're going to think, I'm going to feel happy using the product. You know, it's all about that emotional connection. Answering questions, like, you know, if you know that there's common questions people have about how to use your product or what's in your product, or, you know, what is it compatible with, just depending what it is. If there's common questions or pain points, this is a great place to answer those, because you're basically, you know, all those barriers to purchase, you can remove a lot of those and make people feel much more confident in what they're purchasing. And I guess the other thing to think about with lifestyle images and in-use images is understanding who your demographic is, making sure that your imagery speaks to your target demographic. If it's a product for kids, make sure you show mums and kids together. Or, if it's a product for older age group, make sure you show people that are in that target demographic. So that's about understanding your product, understanding what people are looking for, what their questions might be about it, and and actually answering that, but doing it in a visual way that is in line with your brand, that's always consistent with the way you present your brand everywhere else, so that people are confident, in their purchase, and that they're purchasing it from the real person.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a few points there, isn't there? And just touching on that last one, consistency. So you want it to be obvious that it's from your brand, and so if people go from your website to Amazon, they go, "Oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the same," or vice versa. If they bounce back, that's really important. And then there is that. You talk about answering those questions, and the psychology of a buyer is every buyer has some questions or concerns that they need answered. Like all these, they've got to have all these green ticks there
Yeah.
that until they're ticked, they won't be purchasing. So your job is to put yourself into the shoes of your customer and go, well, what are those questions or concerns? You might have in fact just read your reviews. There will be
Yes.
some good insight there, or competitor reviews as well. But it's making sure you tick off all those things. So because it is a bit like a storyboard, isn't it? Like back in our
Absolutely.
day, the old TV commercials, where they'd storyboard and you got 30 seconds to like kind of pitch the product and hit all those touch points. It's probably a bit like that with Amazon. As people, maybe even less time though. Like as people are scrolling, you've got
Yeah,
the 6 there.
that's
You've got
right.
to go, bang, answer that, bang, answer that, and certainly in the concepts guide that we've got, where you can even have one image in four parts, and it might be step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's how you use it. That looks good. Or this is what's not in it. It might have the ingredients list, but it's gluten-free, sugar-free, no artificial sugars or anything that does. People in one shot, one image, people are like, okay, good. It
Absolutely.
ticks
Yeah.
that box.
No, that's right. It really is about understanding. And I think, when you have a product or you sell a product, you're very close to it, and you need to almost take a step back and imagine being the customer, because they may want to know things you assume people might know or that you think are important might not actually be the things that your customers are needing to know. And I think, Hamish, you touched on, reading, if you're already selling on Amazon and you're looking to optimize your content, then reading your own reviews is really valuable, but also reading competitor reviews and things that people are commonly calling out, maybe as a problem with other products. How do you solve that problem for them, or what is the point of difference with your product as opposed to the competition, and really highlighting that. And it's like anything, you want to put the most important information in the first 2 to 3 images, because people move quickly. They move quickly online, they move quickly on Amazon. They might not get to the end of your image stack, they might not read all your copy. So it's just about making sure you prioritize, so that people, even if they only look at those first 2 or 3 images, actually really understand and they feel confident, and then they keep moving through the listing. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is we want to keep them on this listing, sell them this product, and get them to click that buy now button at the bottom of the page.
Yeah. That's good. Ideally buy now with one click, which is
Yes.
the frictionless piece. So just before we kind of move like down the page, right, keeping them reading, Seb, you've been a bit quiet, so I thought I'd ask you a question here. So when you're managing the advertising side of things, like how do you view the content side of things? Like across a catalog, why do you want the content to be good, or can you get away with it?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two parts to that. I think, certain products, depending on their price point, will be affected more by content than others. A cheaper product, people are going to buy much quicker because it is cheaper. There's less consideration that they need to have when they go to buying it. A more expensive product, they are really going to shop around, and they're going to really look and make sure that the product is what they want. A $200 product versus a $10 product is kind of a very different buyer journey. Particularly like the $200 product probably actually has multiple touch points. They probably click on your ads a few times. In the current environment, the attribution only happens on that last click. But in actual fact, your ads probably played a role the whole way along that journey, that buyer journey. But I suppose the best way to illustrate it is to kind of a scenario. So if we put in $10,000 of ad spend into two different scenarios, one scenario is a 5% conversion rate, and the other scenario is a 7% conversion rate. All the other metrics being equal, the only difference is that the conversion rate is higher in scenario 2. You would end up with scenario 1, which is the 5% conversion rate, being $35,000 in revenue. Scenario 2, with the 7% conversion rate, you would end up with $49,000 revenue. The advertising cost of sale in scenario 1 with the 5% conversion rate would be 40%. The ACOS with the conversion rate of 7% would be 20 ACOS. So half the ACOS, so double the efficiency from your advertising, and also the increased revenue. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the impact can be just by improving the conversion rate, right? Which is, when we say improving conversion rate, we are talking about improving those pieces on your product detail page that help convert the customer.
Yeah, it's staggering, isn't it, really? Like those, you talk about small hinges swing big doors, and this is one hinge, one lever that can leverage up results in a big way. Because often, you've said it on this podcast before that advertising amplifies or magnifies. If it's a great listing, a great product, a great offer, it'll amplify it. But if it's poor, then you're just going to burn money. It'll kind of
it makes the good better and the worse, the bad worse. So
yeah. So interesting. And that high conversion rate is also about relevancy, which Amazon loves from an organic ranking point of view. So we say, look, the number one goal of advertising is to build your organic ranking so you get more free sales, and this is how the two work hand in glove. Right. So as we'll move down the page, and so there's the A+ content, or the versions of that, depending on America versus Australia. So do you want to talk to the importance of how A+ content can be used to not only increase conversion rate, but also help the whole brand catalog as well, Kirsten?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, A+ content is available to all brand registered sellers. So as long as you're brand registered, then you get access to that. And when you scroll down under your image stack, you go through a bit of advertising, and then you get to a heading called product description. So in a standard listing, that's just a written product description. When you use A+ content, you basically get a visual product description. And it's like a mini web page on the Amazon page. Modular kind of system that you build out, and there's quite a lot of different ways you can do that within the Amazon A+ builder, but we tend to use the big image modules. They're the full width, they're quite decent size, and you can use sort of 5 of those. And so you're scrolling down, you get to this A+ content. Now, one of the best things about A+ content, not only is it, a chance to really showcase your product and your brand, but there's no advertising around it. So it's a nice part of the page where you actually got a captive audience without other products competing. Because obviously in an Amazon listing, there's an awful lot of other products that get shown on a product listing. So this is kind of a nice quiet place where you can really speak to, you can maybe expand on some of the points that you started to bring up in your image stack, like those pain points that we talked about, or really showcasing the demographic, or really showcasing any awards and for such like. Product specific panels are really good there. Like you can really showcase the product in a bit more detail, or those key features and benefits, and those in-use shots that we spoke about. But it's also a great place to talk about the brand as a whole. So if you've got a product that maybe has, other products that sit really well with it, you could show a range of products. So you're kind of building on your brand identity, your brand awareness. You can also speak to things about what's important to the brand, or if there's a nice brand story behind it. So you're kind of really getting people involved, not just in a product, not just in shopping for a product, but in buying from a brand. So if you've got something to talk about, it's a great place to do it. The other part of A+ content is you can build your own, they call it a comparison chart. I kind of call it more of a cross-selling chart, because I'm not really comparing my products. I'm showcasing usually 6 of my products to show. So maybe someone's in a listing, they scroll down and then they say, oh, look, you can get a larger size of that, or you can get an improved model of that, or you can get it in a different color. So you can put your 6 products in, you can choose what metrics you put in this table. It brings up the star ratings and the buy now button. So it's really interactive. So that is something that's probably underutilized by a lot of sellers, but really great way to cross-sell or upsell in your catalog without losing people to other brands. You'll find that Amazon builds its own comparison charts a lot of the time, and that's comparing you against your competition. So putting your own in there in this space that's 100% yours is really valuable. So even if they're not 100% sure on the product they're in, giving them options of other products to buy or showcasing that you do all these other products can be a great way to keep that audience within the brand. And the one other thing with A+ content, it's funny because it's obviously there's quite a lot of design involved in all of these things we're talking about, and people often say, well, is it really worth it? And I kind of the way I look at it is that we know that a majority of people on Amazon listings scroll right to the bottom of the listing to get to the reviews, because that's one of the most commonly part of browsing on Amazon seems to be reading what everyone else has said about the product. The A+ content sits directly above those reviews, so yes, it's going to be looked at. That brings to light the fact that you want, again, to design it in such a way that the information is accessible at a scroll. Basically, you want to people be able to pick up this information, get a feel for the brand, get a feel for the product as they're scrolling down the page. And hopefully the images and the design is enough to actually stop them and, they pay more attention. But it's thinking about that, the way people are browsing, it's fast. So on mobile, on desktop, you want it to be really accessible, so that by the time they get to the bottom of those reviews, they're already feeling pretty good about what they feel like they understand the product and that it's the right thing for them. And if not, you've given them some options along the way. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of that rather than either or, either your brand or another brand, it's either product A, B, C, or all of your brand,
Yes.
and or accessories as well. I know some of the work you've done there, say with barbecues.
Exactly.
There where you could be, you could upsize, downsize, but also, these are accessories that most people like, because you can look at attachment purchases as well. So you can start to see those trends. It's like a barbecue cover, this tong set, this other, plate, for example.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
people can kind of build out their, add to cart and make that work as well. Good stuff. So conscious of also looking at the storefront side of things.
Yes.
So Seb, when just before you dive into the details on the, what works for a good storefront, Seb, when does a storefront come into play from an advertising point of view, and how do people get there through the ads?
Yep. Yeah, there's 2 ways to get there. There's obviously on the product detail page at the top, just below the title, there's a link that you can click on that'll take you through the store. It is pretty, unless you know your way around Amazon, it can be a bit tricky to get there that way. But the other main way is through what we call a sponsored brand headline ad. Now, those will show, if you went and searched up any result right now on Amazon, you would see the first ad that you would see would be one of these. It would be called a sponsored brand headline ad. It comes with its own custom creative, and also it can be like a product collection, so a bunch of products, or it can be to stores. And if you click on those headline ads, you'll go through to the store pages. So we use headline ads quite often. I think I've mentioned it in a previous episode that it's very good for big product collections, when you've got a lot of products that you need to showcase, all of them. Also really good just for awareness. They're very, like I said, they're the first ad that you're ever going to see. So you get a lot of awareness from those type of ads where people see your product. So, generic terms where people are entering something that they're not sure yet what they want to buy. Showing a headline ad helps educate them that they're like, hey, we're an option inside this category or inside this search term.
Yeah. So it's kind of a little bit higher up the funnel, as it were, in terms of that buying journey. But you can
Yeah,
pull them
absolutely.
in, pull them over to the storefront. So the storefront, Kirsten, do you want to? I mean, a bunch of people will know what it is, but how do we really get the storefront to convert? Like, what are you looking to do there?
So the storefront, yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic place for your brand on Amazon because it is yours. And once you get there, even if you come there from an ad, that's the last ad you'll see while you're in that storefront. So it is your web page, or your website, in fact, on Amazon with its own URL, which you can also send external traffic to as well. So you can use your external traffic sources to get people into your brand on Amazon in this sort of captive place. So I often approach it much like looking at your own, your off Amazon, your e-commerce website or your website. So yes, it's a selling tool. So you're going to have, you want to utilize having those points to purchase, especially for commonly searched products, quite high up on that homepage. How you structure your storefront really depends on your catalog size and your groupings of products. We've got some sellers that have a very small range. We just go sometimes just with a one-page storefront because we actually, most people spend the most amount of dwell times usually on the homepage anyway. So if you can get everything in that page, fantastic. If you've got a much larger catalog, you can build out quite a complex storefront on Amazon. You can have multiple pages and multiple levels of sub pages. But for me, it's kind of thinking about, again, it's about that journey. So on the homepage, you can have interactive elements on the storefront. I guess that's a really key point because Amazon is quite static. There are touch points for video, which is something we will talk about either in this podcast or another, but video can be on the storefront. So you can have longer videos that are click to play. You can have auto play videos. So those are shorter videos, less than 20 seconds, that are automatically moving when someone hits the page. Really good for getting attention and keeping attention. You've got things like shoppable images on there. So the sort of things that people are getting used to on other social media and website platforms Amazon's introduced into their storefront. So it is more interactive. It gets people more engaged. You can design it to work on mobile and desktop. So there's options for some of the images to create a mobile version, so you get a much better viewing experience. So the homepage you might hit with an autoplay video at the top to capture attention and kind of get across the brand messaging, some of that key brand messaging. You might have some of your, top selling products or new product releases positioned quite high up the page. You then might sort of have a visual navigation to push people into the different product collections or different categories, and those being other pages on the storefront. Some of the other sub pages tend to just traditionally be just a product grid where Amazon basically populates it with the listing links and the buy now buttons and things. And that seems to work really well. You don't need to over design every sub page in the storefront, but focusing on those top level pages is really important to make an enjoyable experience and to really get people to move around into the different categories and find what they're looking for. You can also group products into quite cleverly. So say you were doing, I had a client that was doing supplements and healthcare products. So you could search, you could have those grouped by brand or, by brand, but then you could also have them grouped by the sort of health concern people might be searching for. So the products might show in different sub pages, but what that allows you to do is not only help in the navigation when they're on the storefront, but I think, see, from an advertising perspective, you can also advertise to those particular messages and send people to sub pages on the storefront. So if you've got people, say, specifically looking for kids vitamins, you could send them into the sort of page that has all the kids stuff on the storefront. They can still navigate around the rest of it, but they've hit a product page that's got really relevant products to them. So am I right there, Seb? Is that, don't want to say it wrong.
No, that's good. That's correct.
Yeah, so targeting. So when you do that headline ad, it could go to a sub page. It doesn't always have to go to the homepage.
Yeah,
Is the
that's
key
right.
thing. And I think the key point with directing traffic to a storefront is it's a competition free zone. Obviously, if they click through into a listing, then it's still a listing with competition. But at least that opportunity is where you haven't got other ads from competing brands and around the page. See,
Sure.
one
And
thing,
also, and I
yeah,
guess the other thing, just, thinking you can also build on your brand there, or your education piece. Or if
yeah,
there's a lot of information that maybe people, not everyone's going to look at, but there might be people, especially with your higher price point products and things, that people actually need more information before they make their decision. Maybe you've got a whole lot of information about all the iterations the product's gone through to get to where it is today. And you can kind of talk them through a whole journey and make people feel more confident. Or maybe there's testing that's been done. It could be anything, but it's a place that you can put more information, and people could spend more time if they need to.
yeah.
So you're making sure, much like you would on your own webpage with your FAQs or your About Us, you can kind of build that into your Amazon storefront as well.
Nice. Hey, Seb, so just a question around attribution. So if someone clicks on a headline ad, goes through to the storefront, how does the attribution work there, or the calculate? What's the key metrics there?
Yeah,
What doesn't it do?
Yeah, so this comes up quite a bit when people are looking at their ASIN level metrics. So if you're looking at account level metrics, you'll see your ad sales, your ad spend, your ACOS, your ROAS, all those sort of things, and it'll all make sense. Once you start to break down so even within Amazon's console itself, it has a product tab where you can look at products and individual products and how they're performing. The thing you need to note when you're looking at that products tab or looking at using any third-party software to manage or to look at your metrics is that sponsored brand is not attributed at an ASIN level. And that's because a headline ad, a sponsored brand headline ad, the ones I talked about before that are at the top of the page, they show multiple products. And depending, so someone might click through to a store, the ad will get charged for that. And then obviously depending on what type of product that they click, will be, how the attribution works. So,
Yeah, but it doesn't go to ASIN level. It's just more. It's a sale because they go to the storefront and they might not buy. They might bounce around and then go, I'm going to buy this one, this color, this size, and then but it's just attributed back to sponsor brand ads.
Yeah,
Sale.
so you'll get a sale on that ASIN if they click through and hit that ASIN. It's the spend part that's not attributed. So because the spend part, they could click in, buy nothing, and click out. Which ASIN would you assign the spend to? Or who knows? Because there's a bunch of ASINs there that it could be attributed to. The actual sale, if they clicked through an ad and hit an ASIN and bought it, the sale would be attributed to an ASIN. It's the spend part that is the tricky part that they can't attribute because they don't know why they clicked through the headline ad. They could have clicked through it because of this ASIN, this ASIN, this ASIN. They don't know which one to assign the spend to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, all right, as we start to go, right, this is good. We understand that we need to have our product listings optimized, storefront, A+ content. But Kirsten, I've got a huge catalog. How do I actually decide where to start? Like, what's the kind of the triage approach that you look at when it comes to big catalogs?
Well, there's a few ways you can approach it. So you could approach by just optimizing, your best sellers first and kind of seeing what difference that actually makes to your conversion rates. Or conversely, you could choose to optimize some of the ones that you really, maybe new products or products that are a bit unknown that you really want to push into the market. But at the end of the day, with a big catalog, it's a big job. So the way we approach it is to kind of create a template that you're going to follow for each product. So say for your image stack, you're going to just say you're going to have your hero image, and you're going to have 2 panels that maybe speak specifically to that product. And that leaves you with about another 3 panels. So, we might do a sort of range panel in there, which can be used across multiple products. You might do one that's a brand-centric panel that really just speaks to the brand as a whole. And you also have a slot for video up in the image stack as well. So you may want to put in a brand video or a product range video. And then you can roll that out, and you're only needing to change out sort of 2 or 3 images per image stack, but you're still giving Amazon an optimized image stack. You're still filling all those slots, which it likes. It likes to. It is good to optimize your listing and to fill those image stacks. The same can be said for A+ content. There is no need to design a different A+ content for every product in your catalog. One A+ design should be able to cover a number of product ranges. You could do range panels and just speak to kind of the selling points of, or the key features of each of those. You could potentially change out that comparison chart that we spoke about to be more specific. If you've got a massive catalog, you might not even go there, because that you might just populate that with 6 bestsellers. There's different ways to approach it, but you certainly can. It is possible to take a large catalog and still really optimize it and make it feel like each product's been given the love and attention without doing the work on every listing. And yeah, it all goes back to that beginning point, making sure that you have really good product photography to start with, that's, and for all of the products, because when they sit up, when people search your brand or go to your storefront, it is about that consistency of the look and feel. No one wants to, buy the product that's kind of been left behind, sitting dusty in the corner. It all needs to look, it all needs to look on brand. So that's kind of where the very starting point. And simple things like making sure your brand is presented, like we've talked about, consistently, putting your logo in there, making it recognizable, so people start to recognize products and across a brand, and it runs into the storefront. And if people jump out of Amazon to go to your website or look at reviews somewhere else, it's that whole journey, they feel confident in you and your brand. So yeah, large catalogs, it is possible. Obviously, it's a big undertaking, but, you look at, like Australia is a little bit behind probably content-wise when you look at the US, but it's changing. And a lot of US listings are showing in Australia. So, it's not a, you really need to, all that time and money that's invested into websites and marketing campaigns, that needs to be funneled into Amazon, because the visual experience on Amazon, it's probably one of the key elements of people in that journey that they're taking there.
Yeah, it's interesting. People will invest a ton in their websites and other design, but then they ignore Amazon. But actually, Amazon, the amount of eyeballs that are already on your product or could be on your product and your brand is staggering, often way higher than what the website would be, because of that organic piece. So it is one for people to take really seriously. And even when the work is done there, a lot of that can be used on other marketplaces and your own socials, or even on your own website, that you can repurpose it as well. But it is...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, the key thing for everyone to do is go look at your competition. Are they doing a better job than you? And if they are, then that's a signal that it's time to actually get this work done. And the bar's only going to get raised higher and higher in terms of what is good. And because we've worked with so many brands and very competitive environments, we know what good looks like and what it needs. And so it's really it's about, why not be the best in your category?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because I have a few few brands on Amazon that I kind of think do a really nice job, so I kind of check in on them and use them as examples when I'm doing things. And even some of those brands that I thought were doing amazing, I just went to one recently and they've just done a full refresh because they've done a rebrand in the wider marketplace. So Amazon wasn't forgotten. It was actually, it's forefront in that part of that campaign. So as they did a rollout through other marketplaces, it funneled through and was done into the Amazon listing as well. It's still fantastic. It's different, but it's fresh. And, so that shows that, even companies that were doing it well to start with are still, keeping their finger on the pulse and updating as they go. So not that you should need to do it regularly, but obviously it's something to keep an eye on. You don't just, leave your listings once they're done. And, things like main product shots and other parts of listings, you might you can test different things might work better. So you could have a couple of main product images for one of your, big sellers, and you might actually test which one converts higher. We've had some gift sets where we've had a boxed version of the gift set and then an unboxed version showing all the products out. So we tested to see which one of those got more clicks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it's not a static thing. It doesn't need to just stay the same. You get a new video that you've got made for something else, and you can load that into all the listings. You can keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So that when you get return eyeballs, you get people that maybe didn't purchase the first time but come back again, then it's staying current.
Yeah, 100%. And that testing. Excellent. Well, look, we could talk all day on this here, and we will wrap it up there. But look, thanks so much, Kirsten, for sharing that. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, make sure you go to the get these resources. It'll be in the show notes, but it's gosellglobal.com/creative-training-tools, where you'll get the amazing resources there from Kirsten diving into more detail on product image stacks, A+ content, storefronts, showing examples there, which is a great format for that. We've got videos on triage for large catalogs, and also the impact that small changes make across a whole catalog. And then we've got the 37 design concepts for your image stack, which is an amazing resource, 59 pages, in fact, of examples and inspiration there for you to really up your game with your design content. So make sure you have a look at that. gosellglobal.com/creative-training-tools. And thanks so much, people, for being here at TACOS Tuesday. And thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Sebastian. And we look forward to seeing you next week. All the best.